is 14-year-old me back in the COVID lockdown era. 14-year-old me was obsessed with the entrepreneurial girly side of TikTok. You know, the one where there's a ton of aesthetic pack and order with me or day in a life as a business owner type of videos. Now, although she never really liked business or wanted to go into it, she could not stop watching these TikToks. Honestly, just the aesthetic of sending out so many packages in a day or living this certain lifestyle just made her want to start her own business one day. Unknowingly, she ended up bringing the reality she saw on TikTok in her day-to-day life. But little did she know that behind all those aesthetic videos, there was a lot of hard work and a lot of lessons to be learned. Let me tell you what I mean. So in a nutshell, the business was called Magic Gum, and this is basically a jawline toning gum which is 10 times harder than normal chewing gum. And why did I say it like that? Because I've recorded like hundreds of videos saying the exact same line. Okay, maybe not hundreds, but you know. And this was basically to tone your jawline. So our target audience was a look maxing type of people, and all you had to do was chew a piece of this gum every day or every second day for 10 minutes. We basically handmade this and customized every part of the process. You know, from the recipe to the packaging to the selling to the wanting to cry every single day because you're making gum for 10 hours. We customized it all. And to give a little bit of context, a day in my life pretty much looked like waking up every single day, working out, getting ready, then making gum for the entire day, having dinner, and then sleeping. And then doing the same thing over and over and over and over. Now, although life did feel pretty sad sometimes, I guess it did help set up the foundations for who I want to be in the future and what I want to do. So in that context, it was actually a pretty good season of life. I mean, some of the most basic life changes was that I was making a lot more money, so I felt more financially freer in that context. Like, even if it's something small, like wanting to go to the shops or wanting to do something which requires money, I can literally just go, get up and do that. And in terms of work, although every single day was pretty repetitive, I was still in charge of my own schedule. So if I needed to, I could free up some time and switch things up a little bit. But honestly, setting up your own business does teach you how to work hard. And not just because it was a hard chewing gum and it was hard to mix. It was kind of like Layla Hormozi's your mood, follow the plan vibe. You know, you always hear about these things about discipline and how you shouldn't listen to your feelings and you should just do the thing because that's what matters. And initially when you do hear those things, you're like, hell yeah, I'm so disciplined, I'm gonna do this shit. But when it comes to actually actioning that advice, this is where the discipline should kick in, right? And especially until you're doing something where, you know, maybe you've had a few intense days, you're not sleeping as much, uni work is also ramping up, you also have 10 million other things on the side, and still you have to work on the business. You have to give it your all. You know, you don't actually feel like making gum because who the hell feels like making gum, right? That's where you have to actually your mood and follow the plan no matter what. It really does help to have an accountability buddy. So I'd like to give a special shout out to my brother Arav. So since he was there, I was like, oh my God, I cannot slack off. Like, he's gonna be downstairs making it and I'm just gonna have to like go down and make it with him. So it kind of did help. And you know, showing up every single day, regardless of if you feel like it or not, does help you build more self-trust and self-belief. Because every single day, the more that you show up and the more you're like, okay, no, I have to do this and I am gonna do this well, it starts to change something in you. Honestly, for me, it started developing more of a winner mindset where no matter what you do in life, you fully believe that you can do this and you can win at it. And honestly, I think in most things in life, regardless of if it's related to work or not related to work, a winner mindset does really help, especially if you don't really know how you're gonna win. Like in the start of this business, we didn't really know how we were gonna make the gum or what the recipe was gonna be, how we were gonna even sell it, but we ended up doing it anyways, and that sort of reinstated that belief that, okay, if I do set my mind to it and I do work hard at it and smart at it, then I can do it. I can figure stuff out. I'm also studying business at university and I've just finished my second year. But hands down, this entire experience of actually doing a practical business has taught me more in the entire 2 years combined. You know, I learned what actually goes behind building a business. And let's just say it's a tiny bit more complicated than the 5 Ps or pestle analysis or Porter's something. Like, sure, they can help you theoretically tell what's going on in the business, but how are you actually gonna solve that? And even the assignments where you're like, okay, this is the problem, try and solve this. Even if you give them a strategy of how you can solve it in the business, there's no way you can tell unless you actually try. Actually doing it gives you data which you can use to update your strategy. It's like writing an essay on how to ride a bike, and unless you actually ride the bike yourself and you get a feel for how it's like, there's no actual way you're going to be able to ride the bike just by writing about it. And the thing with uni is, I've noticed that with the majority of classes, even if the degree itself is called business, majority of the subjects are centered around working in a corporation or in a 9-to-5 setup. Like, it doesn't actually teach you business or entrepreneurship. That being said, I know that doing your own thing has its ups and downs. For example, you may have to invest a little bit more time into your career, which means you're also sort of sacrificing the things that you might not have enough time for. Like, for example, with me, enjoying these typical uni/college lifestyle and enjoying these years because these are apparently the golden years of my life. Like, to be honest, other than one uni holy event which I've been to, which, you know, was kind of fun, I haven't been to anything else. Heck, I barely even go into uni because I choose more online based classes so I can spend more time at home working on the things that actually matter to me. Like, if you ask me about how a typical uni day in the life looks, I could not tell you. But you know, sometimes you just have to prioritize the things that matter to you the most. Honestly, I don't even think of myself as the most business oriented or the interested in business type ever. Although I've literally grown up in a household where the go-to career was entrepreneurship and business, I never really saw myself stepping into it, especially at 18, because I'm like, hold on, if I want to be a Bollywood actress, what the heck does that have to do with business? Like, why should I go into it? No thanks, right? But honestly, this entrepreneurial girly era has unlocked a whole new level. I mean, I've kind of even started liking it. And even with what I actually do want to do in life, I can see how I can apply these principles. Like, it kind of makes my current steps that I have to take for my dream life more systemized and more data-based. Like, even with learning how to act, like similar to business where you can see what your competitors are doing, what other companies are doing, and you sort of use those analytics to see what's good in their product, what you can add in your product, how you can level that up, how you can fill gaps in the market. Like, it's pretty much the same principles, where you sort of break down why the great actors are the great actors, what differentiates them from the rest, how I can level up my skills so I can get to that stage while also maintaining my own differentiation. This also leveled up my frustration tolerance. And I think this was especially relevant from like mid last year. So when we were first starting out and testing out recipes every single day, but nothing was really hitting. It was either too sweet or too minty or not minty enough, not hard enough, not soft enough. We were testing like 5 to 10 recipes every single day, and I remember being like, oh my god, will this ever end? Like, I'm here testing out so many pieces of gum. I feel like a jawline sharper than a knife is coming in. I hope I just don't turn into Giga Chad. And what was even more annoying was the fact that I just had to get up every single day and make gum. Like, no one grows up and thinks in their right mind, apart from like probably 0.00001% of people, that one day I'm gonna grow up and make gum every single day from scratch. But at the same time, you're like, no, I can't be that person that constantly complains, being like, why can't we find a recipe? Why do we have to do this? This is so annoying. You know, you kind of have to like just go in there and be like, yes, come on, a new day. We're gonna find it. We're gonna do it. Yes. Because, you know, ideally, that's the type of person you want to be, where you have the persistence and the perseverance to push through no matter what. And relating to that, it also helped in leveling up the skill of just showing up every day with high energy. You know, someone who I find really inspiring is Shah Rukh Khan, and I could talk about him all day. But for now, let's just stick with how he shows up with such a high energy and can-do positive attitude every single day. I mean, he literally works like 18 hours a day, jam-packed schedule, also works out, there's travel time in between, and he's constantly surrounded by people. But no matter how hard he's working, how little he slept, or even if he's injured, he always shows up as his best self. And not only that, but tries to make the experience that other people have with him the most interesting and the most special ones. And at this point, it sort of just seems like it's a part of who he is. Like this one time, I watched a day in his life where he was doing interviews, dubbing, like shoots and stuff back to back, but he was so present, focused, and charismatic while doing it. And that quality is something which I want the best version of me to have. So this season of life gave me a taste into what that looks like in action. Especially in the past 2 weeks of wrapping up this season, everything was so go go, go, go. Like I had my uni assignments and exams due in the span of a week. We were finishing up this season, which meant very long days. I remember sleeping at 12 sometimes. And then I also had my dance showcase coming up to top it all off. So we had extra days for those and longer rehearsal times. It just felt like everything was ramping up in intensity right before the chapter was closing. You know, there was so many times where I just felt tired, or I felt like I hadn't slept enough, or I just felt so much pressure. But honestly, the thought of Shahrukh would do this easily just literally kept me going. Sometimes when you're in the process of trying to better yourself and trying to get to that best version of you, but it's one of those days where you're feeling really low on energy or tired or just done with it, sometimes it feels a bit easy for your brain to sort of manipulate you and say, oh, but the highest version of you would give herself a break sometimes. She would let herself relax, which is true, but not without getting the stuff done first. So in times like this, having a role model or having someone external to you, which is doing all the stuff that you said you're gonna do, literally makes all the difference. It pushes you to get up and get your shit together. And honestly, despite all the chaos, I did really enjoy it. And I found that minus the like 1 to 2 hours I like to have in the morning where I do my workout or I get ready, I don't like having slow days at all. I honestly despise living a slow lifestyle. I sort of need the chaos. Like I love being busy and working and doing all this fun stuff. And honestly, the week where I wrapped up this season of life, I was so confused because I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't know what to do with my life now. I'm just sitting here. It's so boring and slow. There's nothing to do. And although I knew exactly what I needed to do next, which is work on this YouTube channel, it sort of did take time to bring myself into the momentum of doing things. But I reckon the transition between the seasons became a bit more smooth sailing, because I knew if I experimented with routines, experimented with the styles of videos I wanted to make, or whatever I wanted to do in life, right? I knew that I could find something that works for me eventually. Because if we can find a recipe for gum and do all this stuff and get all that work done, of course I can do this, right? See, making gum is a pretty straightforward task once you get past the initial setting up and standardization stage. After a point when you know what you're doing, you can literally just pop in your earphones and listen to an audiobook or a podcast to learn the theory on how to become the type of person you want to become. Like I remember I started listening to Alex and Layla Hormozi's podcasts. I also started listening to Atomic Habits, reread How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a goldmine. And I also read The Defining Decade, which I honestly stopped halfway in between because it wasn't really my vibe. Now, initially listening to this stuff for 30 minutes to an hour every single day probably doesn't seem like it would make much of a difference. But over time, what started happening was that it started shifting my mindset even more. Like I started thinking in ways where I didn't even realize I could think that way before. So the mindset shifts pretty much felt seamless, but it really did help set up a good foundation for this next season of life. Like I didn't have to spend any extra time trying to get this information, which means I can now use that time to do stuff that actually moves the needle forward on the tasks that actually matter. And honestly, I feel like habit stacking is something which is pretty useful for general life as well. And see, apart from that, the thing with finances is that any person who's been in their specific game long enough always has one advice that a person should always invest in themselves and their skill set the most. Also known as S&Me 500. You know, because your skill set is something which you can make more money off of in the long term. And I now realize what that means. See, as someone who wants to become a Bollywood actor, a part of that is also dance. You know, because most movies do have dances or dance segments, so you do want to make sure that you're stepping into it with your A game. And other than that, I do think that dancing also helps you become more aware of your body language as an actor, whether it be small, simple things like just knowing what your body is doing, or controlling the pacing, the rhythm, or performing in front of an audience and making sure your body is not looking stiff. You know, in a nutshell, to make the entire performance look seamless. And so I got to use some of that money to invest in my skills through dance classes. See, usually I'd practice learning how to dance by looking at tutorials at home or on YouTube. And now that is a great way to practice different styles, but I do believe that having someone teach you and working in a group environment does take you to the next level. Like you get the expertise and experience, and you're also collabing with different people to make sure that you're in sync as a group. And like I said before, I'm usually at home working. So for an extrovert, seeing people at least once a week was literally a godsend. And since the best version of me would probably be a very charismatic and social person as well, I usually tried to use this opportunity to make sure I could talk to as many people as possible, either in dance or otherwise. Like if I'm traveling to and from dance, or if I'm, you know, picking up some food on the way. So that just helps keep keep that social muscle alive. Other than that, I've also noticed that I've been able to pick up on dance moves faster than before. So before I'd even learn anything, I was trying to follow this dance tutorial online, trying to learn chaka-chak, and it literally took me 5 weeks to get through the entire choreography because I was trying to figure everything out on my own. But now, if we're given a choreography, we finish it in literally 1 to 2 lessons max. And then the rest of the time is basically spent cleaning it up. So at the start of the business, we also started advertising it through short form and long form videos and affiliate marketing. Now, although that didn't work nearly as well as selling it on Amazon itself, it did help me level up my video creation and my social skills. And by now, you probably figured out how important that is right now because we're filming a video as we speak. Like going on camera and just talking in front of it isn't the most everyday thing. Like, it does force you to talk, to rewatch, and to level up your skills, and it teaches you how to actually make a video. Like, I remember the first time I made a 25-minute long video for Magicum on how to get a sharp jawline. It took me almost 2 to 3 days just to film that video. Like, that was probably the time that it felt the hardest to do. And I think it was because I was sitting in an actual setup going off points which I knew I had to talk about. And sure, I'd had a bunch of YouTuber errors back in the day. First when I was 8 years old, then when I was 10 years old, then when I was 12 years old, then when I was 14 years old, then 15, and then 16, 17, 18-ish, and now 19. Let's just hope this one stays, please. Like, I need some consistency in my life. Like, why did talking on camera have to feel that hard? And now, looking back at that time in my life, the time which I thought would never end. The time where all I did every single day was wake up, do my workout, make gum, make food cause abs, make more gum, eat food again, then sleep, and then repeat the entire day over and over and over again. It ended. It actually ended. And the lesson here, folks, is that no matter how good or bad things seem in life, the lesson is that they always end. And the worst thing is that you'll end, so it won't matter what you did anyway. So in conclusion, just do whatever the heck you want and be happy, mate. See, now it's time for a change. Making gum isn't something I exactly envision myself doing for the rest of my life. And there's just a lot of like personal time investment. Like, although this business did teach me a lot and helped me become the person I am today and the person that I want to be in the future, it's time we burnt the boats on this one. Will this upcoming season of my life be my ultimate dream life? Probably not, we'll see. But I guess that's why we have seasons of life in the first place. And although sometimes it just feels like, oh my God, can I get to the good part already where, you know, I'm already this person, I've already done these cool things with my life. You just have to go through every single chapter, every single page, every single word, every single line to get to that place. And at the end of the book, when you look back, you're gonna be like, damn, that was such a good book because I read every single page and I was present with every single page. So jiyo, khush raho, muskurao, kya pata, kal ho na ho. And watch this video next. Bye, Pookie!